Audio or video recordings manipulated with AI and machine learning techniques are being used to spread misinformation and fake news, destabilizing the political process in different countries. Oren Etzioni from TrueMedia.org is combating disinformation on a daily basis.
I met Etzioni in his organization's headquarters in Seattle, Washington. Oren Etzioni is an American entrepreneur, Professor Emeritus of Computer Science at the University of Washington, and founding CEO of the Allen Institute for Artificial Intelligence. He helped to pioneer technologies such as meta search, online comparison shopping, and machine reading. Recently, Etzioni founded TrueMedia.org, a nonprofit organization developing and implementing technology that identifies deepfakes.
We're in this funny situation where we used to get our news from bona fide media organizations. And now so many people, 34% of young people get their news from TikTok or from YouTube. And the problem is not so much with TikTok or with YouTube. The problem is that on any social media, any social network, the truth and the outright lies are sitting side by side.
Although it appears to be a modern phenomenon, the term artificial intelligence was first used in 1956 when a group of scientists met at Dartmouth University for a summer research project led by math professor John McCarthy.
I think about AI, and I think a lot of people think like I do. Obviously you don't, that God, AI seems so new, but it's been around for a while, obviously. It's been kind of your career. What does that path look like?
I became interested when I was in high school, right, living at home with my dad and so on, and we're talking here the early 80s. And at that time, there was still very limited ability. Computers were not as powerful, the techniques were not as powerful, and there are a lot of questions. There used to be a saying, if it works, it ain't AI, implying, right, that AI systems aren't actually capable. And it really took a while, and some what's called AI winters, before we landed on deep learning, before we had enough computational power to suddenly take some of these problems like machine translation, computer vision, object recognition, and completely blow them out of the water.
So what was it like being one of the pioneers back when the dark ages where things didn't work? And was it frustrating or was it fun, or how would you characterize it?
It was a lot of fun because I got into it for the fundamental age-old intellectual question. What is the nature of intelligence? How do we build an intelligent machine? Obviously, when we had successes, that was better, but I was never in doubt that the brain is inherently a machine, different kind of hardware than what we have in computers, but fundamentally a machine, and that we would figure this out over time. What's changed is that the whole technological realm has heated up so much, right? It's not the intellectual questions of AI as much as the technology of it and its implications for society, for national defense, and so on.
You know, I used to go, I still do go to the Consumer Electronics Show, CES, and it didn't seem like AI was a thing until recently. In the last few years, it's just been AI, AI, AI. When did you kind of see it turning the corner where all of a sudden it just exploded on the scene and everyone was like, wow, it's here?
Actually, quite a while ago, because part of this thing about AI everywhere is a marketing thing. We used to talk about big data. We used to talk about machine learning. I used to joke that I've been working on big data ever since it was just little data, right? So it's really only with the advent of ChatGPT that the broad public realized how powerful these types of techniques have become. And now anybody who can spell AI says, oh, this is AI, this AI. In fact, half the things that are called AI, it's kind of like AI-ish. So I think some of it is a steady growth in computational power, a steady growth in the power of the technology, and a sudden realization on the part of the public. AI for short. So you can imagine.
Since AI's creation, there's been debate about whether its effects would be used in a constructive or destructive way.
Some of the most virulent statements against AI have come from the entrepreneur Elon Musk. He says that with AI, we're summoning the demon, that AI could be a threat to the very existence of the human race. Frankly, this demon talk hurts, but let's put emotions aside and
I loved your TED Talk. You start off by talking about landmines, which we all can agree are bad things, but then you talked about how textiles, early on, some people saw those as bad things, and you kind of make the distinction that AI is kind of falling into the same category. Obviously, it can be used as good, but some people see it as a bad thing. When did you start to see people questioning AI and, geez, this could be scary?
people have always questioned AI. It goes all the way back to the golem in early in Europe, or to Frankenstein. People have always had this ambivalence about technology, and particularly technology that could potentially usurp our role. Now, fast forward to a place where technology, and AI in particular, is ubiquitous, where you can see where it is taking jobs or improving abilities, creating inequality in certain contexts. And I do think that there are legitimate concerns. I like to separate, though, the legitimate concerns about, say, job displacement or about privacy, and then we can think about policies and technologies to address that. And this kind of deep-seated fear, is AI going to take over, Terminator, as your source of information about what AI can do? And I think this doomerism about AI doomerism, that part is actually not new, it's ancient, but somehow with the advances of technology, it's getting more play.
But here you are immersed in this as a career. When did you start to have some concerns about AI? When did they start to crop up for you?
My concerns are less about AI in general, because I think AI, it's kind of like software. It's the next generation of software. So do we have concerns about software? Do we have concerns about electricity? No, these are very broad technologies. It's particular applications that we could be concerned about, whether it's high power lines or software used in the criminal justice system, or actually bad software in hospitals, in cockpits, what have you. And so I have a lot of concerns about specific AI applications, not about AI in general. And one huge one, which is what I'm working on in 2024, I've dedicated this year to it, is deepfakes. Deepfakes are everywhere. In every election, whether it's Indonesia or India, Mexico, you name it, we've seen people create videos, audios, images, where AI is used to manipulate people and to change what you see.
And so you decide to dive into this. How widespread is this as a problem? And I mean, you even have an example. You're sitting down today, people were calling you about something on one of the social media platforms. I mean, it must be one of these things where you're kind of batting down things on a daily basis, or relatively often, or no?
On a daily basis, there are multiple deepfakes, as they're called, being created. Some of them we don't see, they don't get a lot of traction. Some of them I hear about, the following fake video of the Ukrainian leader is being shown in the Middle East.
Disinformation fraud increased by more than 10 times from 2022 to 2023. Fraud is so sophisticated that 70% of people asked said they weren't confident they could tell the difference between a cloned and a real voice.
So that's the genie's out of the bottle. Is it Oren's job to put it back in the bottle, or is it just always going to be out of the bottle, or is it just to say, hey, everybody, this isn't real? Or, I mean, what's your job then?
You're absolutely right that the genie is out of the bottle. I wish that I could be the superhero, right? The Dutch boy with his finger in the dike. If I just put my finger in the right place, everything gets solved. But there's no finger in the dike. There's no silver bullet. Here's what's going on. These things get generated. They become increasingly hard to tell the reality from fiction. It's become increasingly cheap to generate them. It was always the case that Hollywood or a well-funded state actor could generate disinformation, very compelling videos. Now, an individual can do it in 5 minutes with a $10 budget, right? So this is becoming more ubiquitous. We've developed at truemedia.org deepfake detection tools, but it doesn't just solve the problem, because we do make mistakes. A lot of people don't know about it. So we actually need conversations like the ones we're having to increase people's awareness, for people to realize that when you see something, don't immediately believe it, right? And if Elon Musk tweeted it, great. But what's the source of it? How do I know that it's genuine? We need technology for deepfake detection, but we also need common sense.
We also have somebody who decides to get on social media and sees this, thinks it's real, who may check out, not get back on social media, may not know. I mean, talk to me about kind of how this can be such a huge problem that just kind of snowballs.
Social media, by its very nature, has a snowball effect, right? You know, it's the old line, right? I'll tell 2 friends, they'll tell 2 friends, and pretty soon lots of people see it. And of course you have shortcuts in that, because if a public figure like Elon Musk tells 190 million friends, and each of them tells 3 friends, right? We've kind of covered the voting population. And then people see it multiple times from different directions. And in a funny way, right, they think, well, if there's smoke, there's fire. If I've seen this multiple times, it must be true. Nothing could be further from the truth. You have to ask yourself, if I'm seeing something, even if I'm seeing it 10 times, what's the source? How do I know that this is a bona fide? So what I recommend for everybody, don't be part of that snowball that you were talking about. Check the source. Is it from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, et cetera, bona fide sources? Don't just believe everything you see.
Take me back to the genesis of True Media. I mean, this is a noble cause, but it also seems like a daunting cause. Some people might say, oh, that'd be a great thing to do, but boy, am I really getting into it. Talk to me about how you got there and kind of the conversations that led to it.
The goal of the conversation was to talk both about moonshot projects for AI, how we could do things with AI to make the world better. I'm, for example, fascinated by how AI can help people see, right? We're all getting older, people with lower vision. Can we build AI programs in the future will allow people with low vision or blind to see? That's one of the things that I brought to the table. But other people were talking about the risks. And one of the risks that was brought up was the risk of undermining our democracy using deepfakes. And I came away from that and I thought, I am worried about that, but surely there are tools available to journalists, media organizations, to the public to analyze. And I looked around and I saw that there were tools, but they were available to 3-letter agencies. They were available to the enterprise. Basically, as a citizen, there is no reliable tool that you can go to, upload a video and ask it, is this real or fake? So that led me to think we really should build one, and it shouldn't be that hard. That's where my knowledge of the field came in.
Oren, I was thinking about the movie The Graduate, where the guy puts his arm around Dustin Hoffman and says, plastics, just one word, plastics. And I'm just wondering, was there somebody in your life who said AI, or was it just you that had the epiphany?
So funny that you asked that, because as a kid, I was fascinated with math. And my dad, who was a professor, was really worried that I'd become a pure mathematician, all invested in very abstruse, very abstract questions. So we had a mantelpiece at home, and he didn't tattoo on it AI, but he was always putting articles there from different newspapers, different periodicals about applied mathematics, about computer science, about AI. And in a gentle kind of drip, drip way, he did very much direct me towards the new version of plastics.
Paul Allen, co-founder of Microsoft, founded the Allen Institute for AI to develop tools that create real-world impact in the environment, science, and open AI models, strengthening AI's positive influence. Etzioni served as founding CEO from its inception in 2013 until late 2022.
Let me ask you about the Allen Institute for AI, because you were there, recently just stepped down. What was that experience like for you?
It was a wonderful experience because we started it from inception. So the late Paul Allen, who was a tremendous visionary, had the idea to create an AI institute where the mission is AI for the common good. And I was able, through his largesse, to get the resources to work with him on the vision. And we ended up with a $100 million budget, 250 people, and a lot of impact.
Wow. Let me ask you this. When you first got into AI, I would assume you wouldn't think, oh, this is going to be a problem, deep fakes. And then deep fakes did become a problem. It is a problem. Are there things on the horizon that you can see now that perhaps are cropping up that you also have concerns about?
Wow. You are so right that the uses of this very powerful and broad technology are always surprising us. And again, that's scary for some people. And I can imagine various cyborgs or uses of AI in autonomous weapon systems. There are definitely scary scenarios. But what we have to remember is just how many lives AI can save. And this isn't even hypothetical. 40,000 deaths on our highways each year, American highways, 1 million injuries, okay? The studies show this could be cut down by 80 to 90% if we roll out AI-based safety systems. Third leading cause of death in American hospitals, physician error. The physicians are overworked, they're exhausted, they're tired, they make mistakes. Again, AI systems can help. So I really think that there's a huge potential for AI to save lives. And my biggest worry is that if we frame the conversation too negatively, we forget about all the wonderful scenarios where it can make a huge positive difference.
Should there be penalties for people who get deep fakes out there and actually persuade people to vote a certain way? And what might that look like?
Yes, there should be penalties. So I talked about education, right? Educating the public, and I talked about technology. But regulation has got to be a part of this. And we already have some rules on the books. Unfortunately, the rules are a little bit vague. There's more progress at the state level, including state of Washington and California. Rules aren't a panacea because they're slow and some, but we should have rules on the book where we all, as a society, agree what are the limits on free speech when it comes to AI, when it comes to politics. Huge proponent of free speech, but we all know you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. So we need to agree on what the boundaries are, particularly when it comes to AI, which can be so convincing, and particularly when it comes close to the election. The last 24 hours, the last 48 hours, even the last 30 days before the election, what are the rules of the game?
There are a number of elections all around the world. Is there one country, or are there multiple countries that are facing this, or what are you seeing? What's the landscape look globally?
I can tell you that every single election, from the Philippines to the UK, France, you name it, there have been so many. Every single one, we've seen their share of deep fakes. Actually, in Pakistan was an interesting story because the opposition candidate was jailed, so the only way that he was able to campaign actually was using a deep fake of himself. So it was a video of him. It was based on his words, but it was a fake. So we've seen this everywhere. We have not seen that smoking gun, that documented, okay, this election went this way because of deep fakes. But in a close election, that risk is there. So I think that what we've learned from this year is that the deep fakes are out there, the tools are getting cheaper and easier to use, and we just need to be prepared.
Oren, thanks so much.
Thank you.